Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay, and there's a few things you're going to notice straight off the bat. This is just going to be a channel update, so if you're expecting Star Wars Legion like specific content, that's not going to be the case. It's more content related to me and Star Wars Legion. Basically, we're decorating this room. My voice might be a little bit echoey because there isn't anything in here at the moment, so the sound's bouncing off the walls. And secondly, as I said, we're decorating the room. So this is a black door which is very dark with masking tape still on the border, and the whole room is like dark grey. I think there's like paint on this switch. Whatever, we'll get to fixing all of that kind of stuff. Right, so the title of this video is I don't know, I'm not actually 100% sure what I'm going to title it, but at the minute I'm thinking about Katie is pregnant and other mistakes. But trust me, the Katie is pregnant, and that is definitely not a mistake. We have planned that. We've moved house into a bigger house. We've been planning that for years and stuff like that. So Katie being pregnant is just fantastic news. I'm really happy about it. I'm personally very happy about it, but I think for the Star Wars Legion YouTube channel, it possibly has slightly negative consequences. So, I mean, hopefully you're happy for us rather than annoyed the lack of content that I'm going to be able to produce. But, it is what it is. Obviously, we're thrilled to bits kind of thing. And it's actually going to have some knock-on effects that I'm going to talk about here. And I just want to talk about the YouTube stuff that I'm doing overhaul. So Kate's pregnant, she's due end of March, and that's relevant because it sort of meant that I stopped trying to get to like Worlds and stuff like that at Adepticon, because I think that's in Feb. So would I be allowed to fly off to the US a month before the baby was due? Unlikely. So that's been put on the back burner. Now, essentially what this all means is this is a 3-bedroom house. This is the smallest bedroom. We have our master bedroom, and then we have the second bedroom, which is where I was filming the battle reports for Star Wars Legion. Just about fit a 6x4 table in there. I could have a guest, and we had room and space to play. Fine. However, that room I'm getting kicked out of. Can't believe it, bloody little thing on its way kicking me out. So all of my stuff is coming in here. Now in here is the room where I would normally film, me just chatting to the camera. Katie's desk would be here. As Jay from Top Table Gaming would say, you'd be able to see what we had for breakfast, etc. She's been ditched. Well, one, she's pregnant, so she doesn't want to keep coming up and downstairs. But she's now just going to spend most of her time in the living room, and I'll go and spend time in the living room as well. And I'm going to have a desk in here, some shelves, and it's going to be where I do my terrain. So, because obviously I did my terrain in there just because I had a bit more space. And the terrain is something, like the channels as a whole, something I want to talk about. But the terrain channel, that's not that's the webcam. That's why it looked weird. The terrain channel, I'm really happy about the terrain channel, right? So for those of you who were here from the start on Tabletop Oddity, you might have found this channel because of terrain. And I don't want to big myself up, but a lot of my stuff was essentially trying to make terrain accessible for people. I didn't use materials that people couldn't really obtain. I just use like common household items or stuff you could very easily buy on eBay or Amazon, and I built okay looking terrain, right? So I rebranded the Terrain Oddity channel into Terrain Made Easy, because it really, in 3 words, it sort of says what I'm trying to do. And I really enjoyed when I was doing the terrain for Star Wars Legion, seeing people build the stuff that I made, getting like people on Facebook groups being like, hey, go check out Tabletop Oddity's terrain, it's great. It just felt really nice. And terrain as a whole has been something that I've always been interested in. I think even when I was a kid, right, a lot of people looked at like White Dwarf. I was like looking at Scalextric's books and looking at the trees and the hills and stuff like that. Whereas, I think if I would have picked up a train book, I could have been like definitely a train enthusiast, like a model railway enthusiast. But I've got big plans for the terrain channel in 2020. Essentially, I have 6 months worth of content planned out, and I mean week by week. I know what I'm going to release and when, and I know what that content is. That video schedule is planned out for 6 months. I have a year's worth of content ideas. The only problem is I didn't want to plan 6 months in the future, beyond 6 months in the future, because I'm a bit worried that things will change and maybe I want to try, maybe a different game will come out or whatever, and I'll maybe want to just jump on that content very briefly. So I've got 6 months planned out. Video a week is the plan. It'll be done in here. Partly the reason why we've changed the colouring and stuff like that. I'm very happy about it. Thank you to I'm on 811 subscribers now. Thank you to anybody who's come from Tabletop Oddity to a lot of it will be like 40k and D&D, well, D&D will probably be a year away. The 40k stuff, it'll be sort of aimed at 40k in a sense, but a lot of it, like the industrial terrain, will actually all be useful for Star Wars Legion. So please do come over. I'm not going to neglect Star Wars Legion. Don't worry about that. And I just wanted to say thank you to anybody who's come over. And if you want to check that out, please do so. So, Kate's pregnant. The terrain channel's doing well, and I'm very happy to be doing it. Rage Quit's doing fine. I enjoy just chatting poop essentially about like Games Workshop and whatever current game has happened. And really that is essentially the end of the update. It's not a very big update. It's Kate is pregnant, and I'm concentrating. I'm going to put a bit more effort on the terrain channel, but Kate being pregnant has sort of inadvertently hindered my Star Wars Legion time, if that makes sense. As I said at the start, I've stopped. I was trying to get to Worlds, right? I was like traveling 4 hours there and 4 hours back trying to get to a ticket to like an invitation to Worlds. And then it wasn't going well. I was often going like 2-0 and then losing the third game or what have you. I'm not really good enough to ever get there, but I thought, given enough games and enough chance, I might actually sneak an invite. But once we found out when Kate was, the early signs of being pregnant, etc., it became obvious that, well, Adepticon is in Feb. I'm not going to be allowed to travel there. This sort of meta that we're in, or the season that we're in, I can't really pump up my numbers. Like, I was missing events because I missed the London GT because we actually had a baby scan like on one of those days, so there's nothing I could really do about it. So I never went to that. So I'm missing going to events, and that means that my number of games has significantly dropped. I haven't played a game in several months at this stage. I'm still following the game, and I would still rate it as my number one game. I'm not like not playing anything else. I'm not playing anything else in its stead necessarily, but I've not really had time to play Star Wars Legion. Now I do want to change that. Now, how will I change that? I can't do the big battle reports in there because the baby's on the way. I do have the folding table, so I could do it in the living room. However, I actually sort of more interested in skirmish. It just fits my life at the moment a little bit better, a little bit easier. And, especially time-wise, space-wise, I can whack it on the kitchen table instead of setting up a whole massive table. The games are going to take an hour maybe rather than 3 hours or whatever it is. And I think at Element Games, yes, they do like a monthly 800-point tournament. But on Friday night, I think they're going to start doing skirmish events. So I'll be able to just go on a Friday night, do 2 games maybe. Fine, it just sort of feels like it's going to fit into my life a little bit easier. Now, I would like to transition that into battle reports. If I get somebody at my house, I will obviously film them and do them as battle reports. So whether or not you'd be happy with skirmish battle reports or not, I think that's likely the main thing that I'm going to add to the channel if I can. But it depends, with the baby on the way, it's really, there's a lot of things up in the air, as they say. And yes, I will be, I'll be continuing with what we've done so far. So I'll still be doing news and opinions. Really, the channel has for like a year or so has essentially just been news and opinions and stuff like that based around Star Wars Legion. That's going to change. Nothing's going to change there. I'm still going to do that. The only problem with that would be if I can't film in here because the child is asleep in there, then I'll film downstairs. I'll have it all set up so I can actually just record downstairs. Yes. So that is essentially the end. However, I just want to talk about something. I mentioned it with the terrain channel. I want to talk about the reason why I have 3 channels, because I know it's a little bit weird. And as I said at the start, I was tempted to name this video like Kate's pregnant and other mistakes. Just to clarify, again, the baby is not a mistake. The actual mistakes I'm referring to are what I've done with the 3 channels. And I've mentioned this a little bit before, right? I think what might have been better at the moment, instead of having Rage Quit and Tabletop Oddity, I had one channel that I spoke about many different games. But then again, I'm personally going to be playing Legion, the main game. So sometimes I think it'd be better if they were together. And then sometimes I think, actually no, I like them being separate. The terrain channel, I think that should be on its own because it's not just Star Wars Legion that needs terrain. A lot of other games need terrain, and it makes sense to just put that on its own thing and let that do its own thing. So I'm very happy about that. And part of the problem was I made a few bad decisions as I went along without realizing they were bad decisions, and then maybe compounded the error kind of thing. So we started off this channel, and I was doing stuff like just generic wargaming stuff, which I was enjoying, fine. And then Star Wars Legion got announced like 2-3 months after we'd started the channel. and I was really super hyped about Star Wars Legion. And so obviously I was making Star Wars Legion videos, mainly the terrain videos, and then hype videos, etc. And I would play Star Wars Legion for a long time. And then Kill Team was announced. Well, not announced, it came out. And I started talking about Kill Team, and still keeping with Star Wars Legion, but I started talking about Kill Team. I thought I was going to cover Star Wars Legion and Kill Team. But then Kill Team sort of Games Workshop came along, and well, it was their game. Games Workshop came and sort of they did too much to it, and I didn't really like it. That's a story for a different time necessarily, but yeah. So I stopped making Kill Team videos, but along the way of making the Kill Team videos, I'd got views and subscribers because of the Kill Team videos, and I felt like, in a sense, I was misleading them, or I wasn't going to deliver the value. I earned their subscription, and then didn't earn their subscription, so then they should have left and not subscribed. Like, they should have unsubscribed, I guess is the actual phrase, because I wasn't producing what they wanted to see. And I felt really bad about that. So it was sort of at that point that the idea for the second channel came about, and that's sort of what Rage Quit is now. I'm happy to talk about a game and then not talk about a game, because I've stated that up front. Like Warcry, I played Warcry when it first came out. Am I playing Warcry now? Not so much. Am I still interested in Warcry? Yes, but I couldn't really cover it full time. I couldn't do like what Glass Half Dead is doing for Kill Team, because I don't really care about Warcry that much, if that makes sense. So the mistake was possibly covering Kill Team at the start, or you could even go back and say the mistake was just dedicating this channel to Star Wars Legion when Star Wars Legion was announced. But it wasn't even a conscious effort. I was just doing that because I was super hyped about the game. I think I just let my feelings, this sounds like a Star Wars episode, I let my feelings control what I was doing rather than having a logical plan, if that makes sense. So now the logical plan, and this is where they all say, is Tabletop Oddity, Star Wars Legion. It's my main game. I'm going to play it a lot, so I'm going to talk about it a lot anyway. Rage Quit is any other wargaming content that I talk about. So Warcry, Kill Team, I almost said Glass Half Dead again, Super Fantasy Brawl, etc. And then the Terrain Made Easy stuff is, my terrain channel. Hopefully that explains why. I think the terrain channel on its own is a good decision. It's just a lot of time. The Rage Quit and the Tabletop Odyssey thing, people say it's a bad decision, but I just felt I'd ingrained myself too much to Star Wars Legion to start. I don't just want to start adding stuff here that some of you would be interested in, some of you wouldn't. So that's that. Now this is a long video where I've not really said anything, but yeah. Last note, the Patreon is again changing. I did change the Patreon to Terrain Oddity. I'm now just going to change it to Terrain Made Easy because that makes sense. And I'm just not going to have a Patreon for Star Wars Legion or Rage Quit, at least in the foreseeable future, because ultimately just me sitting down in front of the camera and talking doesn't cost me anything. It barely cost me that much time because of the way I film them. So I don't really feel like it's appropriate to have a Patreon on that. Whereas for the terrain stuff, I think it makes a lot of sense because I need materials and, maybe I would build something that I wouldn't otherwise build because I've got those Patreons. So it sort of makes sense there. That's it. Long video, me rambling. I'm gonna say I hope you enjoyed it. If the people who like listening to me, great. And if you don't, then you're not here, are you? So yeah, have a most beautiful day. I was gonna say like and subscribe just because it's the thing you say at the end of the video. Goodbye. Oh, it's Christmas. Well, it's Christmas. Jeez, this is a terrible video. Merry Christmas. I hope you all have a good New Year. I just wanted to come on and talk about the plans for the foreseeable future. Goodbye.